Easy E, Juvenile,
Nah, that's a hard one.
Boosie Webby.
Yeah.
That's
For
shit
sure.
I grew up. That Jeezy. That's like for
Yella Beezy, once a standout in the vibrant Dallas rap scene, now confronts the grim consequences of a past he couldn't escape. Once hailed for his chart-topping hits and flashy lifestyle, the rapper is now at the center of a chilling murder charge. Authorities have accused Beezy of orchestrating the 2020 killing of fellow Dallas artist Mo3, a feud that allegedly spiraled far beyond music. According to investigators, the rivalry reached a breaking point that led to a tragic and calculated plan. The indictment claims Beezy recruited a 22-year-old, Q and White, to carry out the murder. In exchange, they were allegedly promised payment for the deadly deed that took place on November 11, 2020. Mo3, born Melvin Noble, was traveling northbound on Interstate 35E near Illinois Avenue in Dallas when the unthinkable happened. A gunman reportedly chased him on foot and unleashed a barrage of bullets, fatally wounding the rising star before fleeing in a black Chevrolet Camaro. Eyewitness testimonies and surveillance footage allowed investigators to piece together a case that now points directly to Beezy. As Beezy faces a capital murder charge, his future hangs in the balance. With the potential for a death penalty sentence, the stakes couldn't be higher. The life of Mo3 came to a devastating end that day, and Beezy's own story may soon find its conclusion behind bars, or worse. QAN White, a key figure linked to the case, was eventually apprehended and sentenced to 9 years in federal prison on weapons charges. Another individual, Devin Maurice Brown Jr., was also brought into custody. But for years, one burning question lingered: who ordered the hit? That question seemed to find its answer when Dallas authorities finally arrested Yella Beezy. The rapper was booked into Dallas County Jail, where he was held on a $2 million bond. This arrest confirmed what many had suspected all along. Mo3's murder wasn't random. It was a deliberate, calculated act of violence. Beezy's legal troubles weren't new. Before this bombshell indictment, he had faced a series of charges, including firearm possession, assault, and child endangerment. But with capital murder now on the table, his chances of walking free appeared increasingly slim. In Dallas, a city still reeling from the loss, Mo3's mother, Nicole Williams Noble, didn't stay silent. She quickly took to Facebook after Beezy's arrest, calling it justice and expressing a long-awaited sense of peace. Her post struck a chord with Mo3's fans, who had been yearning for closure. Meanwhile, Beezy seemed to maintain an untouchable image. Following Mo3's death, he showed no signs of regret. Instead, he paraded his wealth and luxury across social media, flaunting stacks of cash, designer jewelry, and high-end cars. Speculation and rumors grew, but Beezy kept moving forward without hesitation, until now. At one point, Yella Beezy appeared convinced that no evidence could ever link him to the crime. But now, with the capital murder charge officially in place, his past actions are catching up. The spotlight turned sharper when Dontrell White, one of Mo3's alleged killers, was taken into custody, and photos of him with Beezy began making rounds online. These images reignited speculation about the true depth of their connection, yet Beezy brushed off the rumors, showing no concern. In early 2021, he posted a New Year's message on Instagram that declared he was putting his haters in the dirt, a comment many took as a thinly veiled jab at Mo3 and his supporters. This wasn't just lingering rap beef. It was an audacious display of confidence, as though Beezy believed he had weathered the storm. But by February 2021, the tide turned against him. Undercover officers arrested him after discovering 5 firearms in his bulletproof SUV. Rather than playing it safe, Beezy seemed prepared for confrontation. Instead of stepping back, he kept stoking the flames, further escalating tensions. Trap Boy Freddy, Beezy's close ally and one-time rival, fueled the fire even more. He released diss tracks openly mocking Mo3's death, making it clear neither side was willing to let the feud cool off. But now, with a capital murder charge hanging over his head, Beezy faces a grim reality. If convicted, he could spend the rest of his life behind bars, or worse. While the streets of Dallas have always been perilous, life behind prison walls comes with its own dangers. Beezy won't just be another inmate, he'll be a marked man. MO3's name still commands respect, and there's no predicting who inside might be looking for retribution. As Beezy adapts to life in confinement, he'll be forced to confront how a rivalry that began with words escalated into a devastating chain of events that cost him everything. The conflict between MO3 and Yella Beezy wasn't always a full-blown street war. Dallas's rap scene once held glimpses of unity. Bay and MO3 shared stages, took photos together, and rose to prominence side by side. But as their fame grew, deeper issues began to surface. Unresolved history, street politics, and simmering jealousy started to rear their heads. MO3, known for his unfiltered lyricism and raw street authenticity, often rapped about past enemies re-emerging. As his star rose, so did the intensity of these lingering feuds. Even Baton Rouge icon Boozy Badazz became tangled in the escalating drama. Initially, Boozy was drawn to Dallas's rising talent, taking a neutral position. He appeared in vlogs with MO3, offered his public support, and even collaborated on tracks. Embracing the cosign, MO3 began calling himself MO3 Badazz as a nod to Boozy. At the same time, Yella Beezy was blazing his own trail. His breakout single Trappin' Designer picked up steam, and during an early interview with Say Cheese TV, Beezy confidently named the city's top artists, MO3, Trap Boy Freddy, Go Yayo, and Lil Ronnie, placing himself among them. At that point, the dynamic seemed mostly professional, even friendly. However, as the industry spotlight grew brighter, so did the tensions. In a May 2017 interview, MO3 acknowledged that he and Beezy had once faced a misunderstanding. But he claimed they had resolved it after meeting face-to-face in Dallas. According to MO3, the root of their issues might have been personal, possibly involving a woman. Yella Beezy hinted at the same in his own interview, suggesting a female connection had stirred the pot. Despite these claims of a truce, the peace proved short-lived. As both artists climbed higher in the music world, their friction only deepened. As MO3's fame skyrocketed, many insiders noted that his meteoric rise strained his relationships with several local rappers. What had started as simple competition quickly shifted to hostility, culminating in a tragic turn on May 27, 2017. After attending a concert at Club Phantom in Fort Worth, the night ended in chaos around 4 a.m. when gunfire erupted. A 31-year-old man, Hector Wilkins, known on the streets as Lil Half, was fatally shot in the torso. He later succumbed to his injuries at the hospital. Authorities wasted no time and soon pointed to gang involvement as the likely cause. Not long after, MO3 was apprehended during an early morning raid at his home. He faced a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and was held on a $100,000 bond. Even with such serious allegations against him, MO3 maintained a defiant attitude. In a candid phone interview from jail, he described his arrest experience in vivid detail, claiming officers let him drive his own truck to the station and even stopped at McDonald's along the way. Fighting the case drained more than $90,000 from his finances, leaving him in a tough spot. This incident marked a pivotal moment. What began as rising tensions had now escalated into a violent, ongoing feud that would cast a long shadow over the Dallas rap scene. MO3 argued that his arrest was based on little more than online chatter rather than solid evidence. The charges were ultimately dropped for lack of proof. But the rift within Dallas's music community continued to widen. Adding fuel to the fire was comedian Roy Lee, whose raw humor and unfiltered commentary became impossible to ignore. Lee often joked about the growing rivalry, framing it as MO3 versus the entire Dallas-Fort Worth area. Though he played it off as humor, his remarks struck a nerve. Being close to MO3, Roy Lee's jokes and pointed criticisms came as no surprise, further blurring the line between entertainment and personal conflict. Yella Beezy wasn't one to let Roy Lee's mockery go unanswered. In a widely shared interview, Roy Lee took aim at Beezy's Oak Cliff roots, sarcastically daring him to "come on up so we can rob you." This insult didn't sit well, and it sparked a direct confrontation at King of Diamonds nightclub in August 2017. Roy Lee claimed that Beezy and his crew attacked him during the altercation, prompting him to challenge Beezy to a one-on-one fight. Roy Lee didn't back down. In subsequent interviews, he continued to poke fun at Beezy, questioning his street credibility and fueling the growing tension. At one point, Lee's provocations escalated to threats involving family members. The feud reflected a broader turmoil within Dallas hip-hop, a combustible mix of music, comedy, and street politics. Then, in September 2018, tragedy struck. While sitting in a parking lot, Roy Lee was shot in the leg. Initially, the injury didn't seem critical. He kept performing, updating fans from his hospital bed and assuring them he was on the mend. But complications arose. Blood clots developed from the injury, and weeks later, Roy Lee tragically passed away. His death sent shockwaves through the community. MO3 took it especially hard. In a no-jumper interview, he displayed a chain he had made to honor Roy Lee, a friend he believed was lost in a feud that spiraled out of control. In the aftermath, street rumors began swirling. While no direct accusations were made, some quietly speculated that Beezy may have played a role in Roy Lee's death. Tensions continued to escalate, and just days later, Beezy himself became the target of violence. On October 14, 2018, he was ambushed in the early hours of the morning. As he drove on the Sam Rayburn Tollway, another vehicle pulled alongside him and unleashed a hail of gunfire. More than a dozen bullets struck, further entrenching the chaos that had overtaken the Dallas rap scene. Yella Beezy's car was riddled with bullets, and multiple shots struck him. Miraculously, despite the severity of the attack, he survived and was rushed to a nearby hospital in serious condition. The shooting sent shockwaves through Dallas. With Roy Lee's recent death still fresh and tensions already running high, many speculated that the attack was a direct retaliation. Law enforcement quickly stepped in, but no suspects were identified. As Beezy recovered, rumors swirled across social media, fueling endless speculation. During an interview on The Breakfast Club, Beezy opened up about the harrowing incident. He recalled sensing that something was off when cars began tailing him as he left a nightclub. By the time he realized he was being followed, it was already too late. The gunfire had begun. While Beezy was on the mend, MO3 stayed noticeably silent. In interviews, he declined to comment on the shooting, leaving the public to draw their own conclusions. But the calm wouldn't last. By July 2019, the animosity between the two rappers reignited in a very public way. Both MO3 and Beezy were slated to appear at the Unruly Citizens Festival at the Ford Center. However, when MO3 arrived, police officers denied him entry, preventing him from performing. Meanwhile, Beezy took the stage without issue. Frustrated and visibly upset, MO3 went live on Instagram, accusing Beezy's team of using connections with law enforcement to block his performance. He claimed it was a deliberate attempt to undercut his growing momentum. Yella Beezy was quick to respond, brushing off MO3's accusations. According to Beezy, MO3 had never been scheduled to perform in the first place. "Ain't nobody on the same flyer as me," Beezy said, suggesting that MO3 had fabricated the story to stir up attention. Trap Boy Freddy, another prominent Dallas rapper and a close ally of Beezy, jumped into the fray. He mocked MO3's claims, suggesting the rapper was simply looking for headlines. "Look at the flyer!" Freddy laughed. "He just wants to be talked about." Shortly after, Beezy sat down for an interview with Vlad TV. When pressed about MO3's allegations, Beezy responded with a smirk and a brief comment that only added to the speculation, making it clear the feud was far from over. The message was clear. No one was untouchable, not even those mourning a fellow artist. Although Beezy survived the shooting, the incident underscored just how tense and dangerous the Dallas rap scene had become. As violence escalated, public outcry grew louder. MO3's name dominated the headlines, and the demand for answers pressed heavily on the Dallas Police Department. A turning point arrived on December 10, 2020, when authorities made their first arrest in connection to MO3's murder. A 22-year-old aspiring rapper named Quan Dontrell White, also known as FGG Bonzo Bling, was taken into custody. According to court records, an anonymous tip and cell phone data placing White at the crime scene proved crucial in identifying him. Before his arrest, White had drawn attention for his social media posts. Just days before MO3's killing, he uploaded an Instagram photo showing off large stacks of cash and a rifle, captioned with a chilling message, "He put a bag on him, now I'm up." Many would later interpret it as a reference to a payment for the hit. In another post weeks later, White appeared in a jewelry store, flaunting money again. Surveillance footage eventually tied a vehicle linked to MO3's killing to a location connected to White. Even from behind bars, White didn't stop promoting his music. His lyrics hinted at spraying bullets from a vehicle, further implicating him in the violent events. But what raised even more eyebrows was White's apparent connection to Yella Beezy. Not long after White's arrest, photos emerged showing him alongside Beezy, deepening suspicions of a larger plot. Meanwhile, Beezy maintained a high-profile presence, seemingly unshaken by the ongoing investigation. As 2020 drew to a close, he posted a message celebrating the year's end with the statement, "Putting my haters in the dirt." The comment reignited speculation, leaving many to wonder just how deep the connections ran and whether the full truth would ever come to light. In January 2021, Quan Dontrell White gave a jailhouse interview, attempting to downplay the severity of the charges against him. He characterized the case as just another chapter in the street lifestyle, brushing off the allegations as if they were simply part of the game. White openly acknowledged that the attention from the case had dramatically increased his social media presence. His Instagram following skyrocketed to over 18,000 after he was named a suspect. When asked if he was prepared for the fame, he merely laughed. Though White minimized his connection to Yella Beezy, investigators pressed forward. On April 23, 2021, the case took another turn with the arrest of a second suspect, Devin Maurice Brown. Like White, Brown hailed from Dallas, and authorities believed he had a personal motive for his alleged involvement, possibly a dispute centered around a woman. Evidence painted a damning picture. Records showed that on the day of MO3's murder, Brown made several phone calls, seemingly to track MO3's whereabouts. Phone logs further revealed extensive communication between Brown and White in the lead-up to the shooting. A search of Brown's home uncovered an illegal AK-47, over $3,000 in cash, and various illicit substances. With both White and Brown in custody, investigators began piecing together the intricate puzzle. After nearly 4 years of speculation and anguish, the case reached a pivotal moment with Yella Beezy's arrest. For many, it was a confirmation of long-held suspicions. For MO3's family and supporters, it signified the first real step toward long-awaited justice. As the story continues to unfold, more details are expected to emerge. To stay updated on this and other stories shaping the culture, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Keep watching for more content. It's just getting started.